He came in unannounced and caught husband beating up his lost twin sister down to floor. Hello family, welcome back. Please do well to subscribe and let's know where you are watching the story from in the comment section. The sound came first, a heavy thud against wood, then a sharp cry that cut the quiet like broken glass. Michael didn't wait to knock. He pushed the front door open with his shoulder. It swung wide on creaking hinges, and the smell of rain and cheap cologne rushed out at him. The living room lights were on. A man stood over a woman on the floor, his face red, his fists tight. The woman had her arms up, trying to block the next swing. A framed wedding photo lay cracked under the coffee table. The TV played some sports talk show with the volume low, the hosts still arguing like none of this was happening. Hey! Michael's voice came out louder than he expected. Stop! The man spun around like a cornered animal. Who are you? Get out of my house! Michael stepped in, closing the door behind him with a push of his heel. He didn't look away from the man. He didn't blink. Back off, he said. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. On the floor, the woman's breath came in quick, broken pulls. She was curled near the sofa, one hand pressed to her cheek. There was blood on her lip. Her hair hid half her face. She didn't look up. The man took a step toward Michael. He was in his 30s, about Michael's size, but wider in the shoulders. He wore a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled, like he'd come home from work and never took off the day. His eyes had that wild, mean shine. You don't know what she did, he said. You don't know anything. I know what I saw, Michael said. Move away from her. You break into my house and give me orders. The man laughed, but there was no humor in it, only heat. She lied. She's been talking to people behind my back, texting, keeping secrets. You think a man can't protect what's his? Michael kept his voice even. Nothing in this world is yours to hurt. The man's jaw worked. He looked Michael up and down like he was weighing him. You a cop? No. Then you don't matter, the man said, and took another step. Michael shifted his stance and raised his hands, open, palms forward. He wasn't a fighter, not really, but he knew how to block, how to brace. Don't, he said. For a long second no one moved. The TV kept on. The rain hit the windows. Somewhere a clock ticked like a muffled heartbeat. The woman whispered something, too soft to catch. The man glanced back at her like she was a stain on the carpet, and that was when Michael stepped in. He moved between them, close enough to smell the alcohol on the man's breath. Close enough to see the tiny cut on the man's knuckle. Take a breath, Michael said. Walk away. Go outside. Cool off. The man's mouth curled. Who are you to tell me how to run my house? Michael didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the man's eyes. A moment passed. Then the man shoved him. Hard enough to rattle bone, not hard enough to knock him over. Michael didn't shove back. He stood there, catching the push with his shoulders, grounding his weight through his feet. Last warning, Michael said. You touch her again, I call the police. The man's laugh broke apart. Police? You going to tell them about her secrets? You going to tell them she lets people in here without telling me? That she's been looking for someone? That she's been lying? He spat the last word like it tasted bad. Michael's chest tightened. Looking for someone. He glanced at the woman. Her hands trembled where they held her cheek. Her hair fell, and a thin silver necklace glinted near her collarbone. Something in Michael's memory stirred, then slipped away. He forced himself to stay in the present. Step back, he said. Or what? Or you're going to jail tonight. The man stared at him, jaw clenched. Then he swore, a low growl of a word, and swung his arm toward the wall, sending a lamp clattering. The bulb popped and the room jumped with shadow. He stalked to the kitchen doorway and stood there, breathing hard, as if the threshold was a line he couldn't cross and still be in control. Michael knelt beside the woman. Mom, he said gently, can you sit up? Do you want to go somewhere safe? Her shoulders tightened like she expected a blow. It took a second before she looked at him. When she did, Michael felt the air thin. Her eyes were a shade of brown he knew and didn't know. They were tired eyes. brave eyes. There was a bruise blooming along her cheekbone, the color just starting to turn. "Don't touch her," the man snapped from the doorway. Michael didn't look back. "I'm not going to hurt you," he told her. "My name is Michael. You're safe with me here." Her lips parted like she might say something, but the words got tangled. She swallowed and nodded a little. He helped her to the sofa, slow and careful, the way you move a bird with a broken wing. From the kitchen, a cabinet door slammed, a bottle clinked on the counter. The man's voice came late and loud. "You think you're a hero? You think you can just walk in?" Michael raised his voice over him. "What's your name?" he asked the woman. She hesitated. The syllable fluttered and died. She closed her eyes and breathed. "Emily," she said. Michael felt that word land. It struck a place inside him he kept closed. He had heard that name in half-told stories. He had said it out loud on nights when the stars felt closer than people. He pushed the feeling aside. This was not the time to go soft. This was not the time to get lost in memory. "Emily," he said softly. "Do you want me to call 911? Emily's eyes flicked toward the kitchen doorway. The man stood there, one hand on the frame, his face flat and dangerous. He lifted his chin like he dared her to answer. Michael shifted his body to block her view of the man. "It's your choice," he said. "I'll do whatever you want. I can call, or I can get you out. But I won't leave you." Emily's throat worked. She looked at Michael again, searching his face like it was a map. "Who are you?" she whispered. That question pulled at him. He had asked himself the same thing more times than he could count. "Who are you, Michael? Where did you come from? Where do you belong?" But he kept it simple. "I'm a person who walked by and heard something I couldn't ignore." That was true enough. But it wasn't the whole truth. The whole truth was messier. The whole truth started years ago, in a small apartment in Cleveland, Ohio, with a grey cat that liked to nap in laundry baskets and a grandmother who kept secrets in tins that once held cookies. Michael grew up there, raised by Grandma June, who told him the world was big and people were complicated and that sometimes love showed up late but still counted. He learned how to fix leaky sinks and how to listen. He learned that quiet doesn't always mean peace. On his 20th birthday, after the cake and the off-key song and the way Grandma looked at him like she was memorizing his face, she finally opened one of those tins. Inside was a hospital bracelet, a photocopy of a birth certificate, and half of a tiny silver locket shaped like a heart. The bracelet had his last name, the hospital's name, and one word in the line that said, sibling, twin. "Your mother couldn't keep you both," Grandma had said, and her voice had shook like a paper over a fire. "We took you in. I don't know what happened to the other. I tried to find out. Lord knows I tried." From then on, the word twin lived in Michael's chest like a small, steady light. He looked at faces on buses. He studied photographs in old records. He scanned adoption boards. He moved to jobs that gave him free time and odd hours, delivery driver, warehouse night shift, so he could chase leads. Sometimes he felt crazy. Sometimes he felt close. Always, he felt pulled. 2 days ago, in a grocery store parking lot in Columbus, an older woman with a loud laugh and a red scarf had stopped him and said, "You know who you look like? The girl who works over on Maple Court. Spitting image, I swear." She had scribbled an address on a receipt before the wind could steal it. Michael stood there with the paper in his hand, the world tilting just enough to make him dizzy. He drove to Maple Court this afternoon because he couldn't not. He told himself he wasn't, getting his hopes up. He told himself he'd sit in the car, check out the house, maybe see someone come or go. He told himself he would be responsible and calm. Then the rain started. Then the shouting started. Then he heard that thud that went through his bones like an alarm. Responsibility and calm fell apart. He walked up the short path. He tried the knob. It turned. He stepped inside. Now, in this living room with the broken lamp and the wedding photo on the floor, there was nothing to do but deal with what was in front of him. From the kitchen, the man stalked back into view. He had a bottle in his hand, not by the neck, but in a fist like it was a weapon. Michael stood up fast. "Put that down," he said. The man sneered. You don't tell me what to do. Put it down, Michael repeated, voice firm, no wobble. Don't make this worse. Emily's voice came soft. David, please. So that was his name. David. It fit the way he stood, strong and stubborn, like the kind of man who would rather break something than admit he was wrong. Don't you please me, David snapped. He pointed the bottle at her, then back at Michael. You both think I'm stupid? You think I don't see what's going on? She's been hiding things. She's been sneaking around. Who are you? Some boyfriend? Some savior she called? Michael's jaw tightened. I don't know her story, he said, and that was true in more ways than one. I just know you don't get to hit her. David's laugh was short and ugly. You ever been cheated on? He asked. You ever had someone make a fool out of you? Because I have, and I don't get played. Michael kept his eyes steady. No one deserves a beating. Not for a lie, not for a truth, not for anything. David took a step closer, the bottle hanging at his side. You gonna stop me? If I have to. They stood there, 2 men and a storm, the room held tight by the weight of what might happen next. Michael could hear the rain tapping at the windows like impatient fingers. He could hear Emily's breathing slow down a little behind him. He could hear his own heart. He thought of Grandma June's hands, always warm, always busy. He thought of the hospital bracelet and the half locket, still in the cookie tin in the back of his closet, wrapped in an old scarf. He thought of the woman in the parking lot saying spitting image. He thought of how sometimes life gave you one chance to do the right thing and dared you to look away. David, he said, quieter now, speaking to the man like a person, not a threat. You don't want this, you hit her. That's already a line, don't cross another. Put the bottle down, step outside, take a walk. You can come back, but you're not going to touch her. Not tonight. For a heartbeat, something wavered in David's face. Then it hardened again. He set the bottle on the coffee table with a thunk, loud in the small room. The glass rattled. The TV arguments drifted back into the silence like distant traffic. Fine, he said. I'll take a walk. But when I come back, you better be gone. Michael didn't answer. He was listening to Emily. She was trying to say something. Her fingers touched her throat as if the words were stuck there, as if they hurt coming out. David moved toward the door. He stopped with his hand on the knob and looked back. You think she's innocent, he said to Michael. You think you're helping. You don't know the half of it. He yanked the door open. Cold air surged in. Then he was gone, and the door slammed behind him. The house felt different with him outside. Lighter, but not safe yet. Not settled. Michael turned back to Emily. She was watching him like she was waiting for him to disappear. He crouched so his eyes were level with hers. You okay? He asked. She nodded, but it was a small nod, a tired nod. He handed her a tissue from a box on the end table. She dabbed at her lip. The tissue came away pink. I'm calling an ambulance, Michael said, reaching for his phone. No ambulance, she said quickly. So please, he'll be worse if... Her voice cracked and she stopped. Then a friend? Family? He paused. That word hung between them like a fragile thing. Someone you trust. Emily looked down at her hands. Her fingers were small and strong, a faint scar crossing the knuckle of her right index finger. Michael's chest pulled tight. He had a scar in the same spot, different shape, same place. Maybe I could... She swallowed. Do you live close? About an hour, he said. Cleveland. I can drive you somewhere. A shelter, a hotel, anywhere you want. Or I can stay until you're ready. You set the pace. Emily's eyes lifted to his again. Up close, he could see a tiny birthmark near her left ear, a soft small comma of colour. Something inside him shifted, a puzzle piece clicking against another. The room seemed to tilt a little. He thought of the locket. He thought of the hospital bracelet. He thought of the word twin glowing like a coal in the dark. He took a breath and pushed the thought down. This was not the time to chase ghosts. This was the time to keep someone safe. Thank you, Emily whispered. I don't even know why you're here. Michael opened his mouth to answer, and then closed it again. How could he explain the parking lot and the red scarf and the way the rain had sounded like a warning? How could he explain the feeling he'd had since he was 20, like there was a knock he had never heard, a door he had never opened? He settled on the truth he could carry. "I heard you needed help," he said. Outside, the rain eased to a soft curtain. The neighborhood was quiet, the way American neighborhoods get at night. Cars tucked in, porch lights humming, secrets held behind blinds. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked twice and stopped. Inside, Michael moved to the kitchen, grabbed a clean dish towel, wet it at the sink, and brought it back. "Here," he said. "Cold will help." Emily held the towel to her cheek. She winced, then relaxed. The silver necklace glinted again when she moved. It was a thin chain with a small charm, a half-heart shape with a notch. Michael's breath caught in his throat. He looked away fast, like he'd stared at the sun. "How long until he comes back?" Michael asked. "Sometimes 10 minutes, Emily said. "Sometimes an hour." "Okay," Michael said. "Then we have time to decide what you want." Emily nodded slowly. Her eyes went to the front door, then to the cracked wedding photo under the table. Michael followed her gaze. In the photo, 2 smiling people stood under a summer sky, all promise and shine. He barely recognized the man he had just faced. He wondered who the woman had been that day, and what had happened to the light on her face. "We make our own families," Grandma June always said. "And sometimes, if the good Lord is kind, they find us right back." Michael pulled in a breath, steady and deep. He felt the pull of something old, something waiting. He didn't name it. Not yet. He just stayed where he was, shoulders squared, ready to hold the space until morning, or until the next hard thing came through that door. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give future to children and women abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing to hitting the subscribe button and turning on your notification bell. Also, let us know in the comments where you are watching us from and how this story hit home for you. Michael sat on the edge of the sofa, his elbows on his knees, eyes fixed on Emily. She was holding the cold towel to her face, her hands trembling less now, but her breathing still uneven. She didn't cry. That struck him. She wasn't crying. She looked like someone who had used up all her tears years ago. "You shouldn't have come in," Emily whispered, her voice low, almost ashamed. "He'll be worse when he gets back." Michael leaned closer. "Worse?" "He shouldn't be anything. He doesn't get to do this to you. Not ever." Emily shook her head. "You don't understand. It's complicated." Michael frowned. "Number. It's simple. He's hurting you. That's not complicated at all." Before Emily could answer, the sound of the front door unlocking sliced through the air. Both of them froze. The handle turned, and David walked back in, damp from the rain, his shirt sticking to his chest. His eyes locked on Michael first, then on Emily, and his lips curled into a bitter smile. "Well, well," David said, tossing his car keys on the table. "He's still here. I thought you'd be gone by now, hero." Michael stood, putting himself between Emily and David again. "You need to stay on that side of the room." David's smirk deepened. "You think you're in charge in my house? You think you can come in here, some stranger, and tell me how to live with my wife?" Emily's voice came sharp, though thin. "Stop it, David, just stop." He snapped his head toward her. "Don't you raise your voice at me in front of him. Don't you dare." Michael felt his fists clench. "She doesn't belong to you. You don't get to talk to her like that." David's laugh was sharp and ugly. "You know what the problem is with women like her? They forget. They forget who paid for the house, who keeps the lights on, who gave them the good life. Without me, she'd be nothing. She'd be working at some grocery store begging for tips." Emily flinched, her fingers tightening around the towel. Her voice was softer now. "You promised me, David. You promised me love. You promised me respect. David turned to her with mocking surprise. Respect? You want respect? You lost that when you started sneaking behind my back. Don't act like you're innocent, Emily. Tell him the truth. Michael's jaw tightened. The truth? The truth is you're a coward. You hit your wife because you're scared of your own shadow. David's face twisted, and for a moment Michael thought he was about to lunge. But then, just as suddenly, David leaned back against the doorway and grinned. You're bold, I'll give you that. But you don't know her like I do. She paints herself as a victim. That's her game. I know the truth. I've seen the messages, the little notes she hides. She's always looking for something else. Someone else. Emily closed her eyes. That's not true. Michael studied her face. He saw the shame flicker there, but not guilt. Not the guilt David was pushing. He'd seen this before, not with a wife, but with his grandmother, when she used to talk about his mother. The way abusers twisted stories until victims started doubting their own memory. David pushed off the wall and took a step closer. You want to know the real Emily, he said to Michael. She's ungrateful. That's what she is. She has food, clothes, a home, and still, she acts like I'm the villain. She should be thanking me every day. But no, she gives me silence. She gives me secrets. Michael's patience snapped. What she gave you was trust, and you broke it. That makes you the villain, David. Nothing else. David's eyes darkened. You think you can come into my house and talk to me like that? Yes, Michael said flatly. Because somebody needs to. For the first time, Emily reached out. Her hand touched Michael's sleeve, just the edge of his arm, but enough to anchor him. Please, she whispered. Don't fight him. Don't give him an excuse. Michael turned to her, lowering his voice. I'm not leaving you with him like this. Her lips trembled and she shook her head again. You don't know how it started, she said, her voice catching. He wasn't always like this. He used to be different, kind. He used to laugh. He used to hold me and tell me I was his world. He made me believe it. And then one day, the kindness stopped showing up, but the words kept coming. You're my world. You're my everything. But the hands... She touched her bruised cheek. The hands didn't match the words. Michael felt his stomach churn. He wanted to put his hand on her shoulder to promise her she wasn't alone. But he stayed still, knowing she needed to speak. David rolled his eyes. Oh, here we go. The sob story. The poor little wife who didn't get enough attention. You want to tell him how you go through my phone, Emily. You want to tell him how you snoop through my drawers. Don't act like you're innocent. Michael turned sharply. You're calling her the problem. She's snooping because she doesn't feel safe. Because you gave her reasons not to trust you. You did this, David. David's face reddened, his fists tightening. She's mine. That's what you don't get. She's mine. Michael stepped forward, his voice a hard edge. Number. She's not. She never was. She's her own person. And she's about to see that you're nothing but chains she doesn't need. For a moment, David's chest heaved like he was about to explode. But then he grabbed his keys from the table again and hissed through his teeth. This isn't over. The door slammed. His car engine roared, tires screeching as he pulled out of the driveway and disappeared into the wet night. Emily sank back against the sofa cushions, her whole body folding in like she was bracing for an earthquake that had already passed. Michael crouched in front of her again. You don't have to keep living like this, he said. You don't owe him anything. You owe yourself peace. Tears slipped from her eyes then. Quiet tears, not dramatic. Just tired. You don't understand, she said softly. He's taken everything from me. My friends, my savings, my freedom. I don't even know who I am anymore. Michael's chest ached. He wanted to tell her something, anything that would light a fire inside her, but all he could manage was, then let's find out who you are, together. Emily looked at him, long and searching, like she was trying to place something in his face that she almost recognized. She whispered, Why do you even care? Michael swallowed. His throat felt tight. He couldn't say it yet, not out loud. Not until he was sure. So he said the only thing he could. "Because no one deserves to be lost," he said. And in his heart, he knew those words meant more than she could imagine. That night, the house was quiet, but not peaceful. Quiet, like the silence after a fight, when the walls themselves seemed to hold their breath. Emily finally fell asleep on the sofa, the wet towel slipping from her cheek, her breathing soft but uneasy. She looked like someone who hadn't had a safe night's rest in years. Michael covered her gently with a blanket he found folded on the chair, then stood for a long moment, watching her. He felt a knot inside his chest, anger at David, sadness for Emily, and something else he couldn't name. Something that pulled at him in a way he hadn't felt since Grandma June had whispered the word twin. Michael couldn't sleep. He paced the small guest room David had grudgingly told Emily was for visitors. The room was neat but cold. The furniture looked more like decoration than comfort. There were no photos of family, no personal touches, just white walls, a stiff bed, and the hum of the old air conditioner. But something gnawed at him. David's words from earlier repeated in his mind. She's been hiding things. She's been sneaking around, always looking for someone. Michael sat on the edge of the bed, his hands on his knees, staring at the wall. "Looking for someone," he whispered. The phrase pressed at him like a door he hadn't opened. He got up again, restless, and wandered toward the office he had seen earlier. The door was half open, a narrow beam of hallway light spilling across the carpet. He hesitated. He wasn't the type to snoop, but David had said things that didn't add up. And if Emily had been looking for someone... Michael pushed the door open and stepped inside. The office smelled faintly of tobacco and stale coffee. Papers were scattered on the desk, but stacked too neatly, like someone had arranged chaos to look like order. A computer sat in the corner, the screen dark. On the far side of the desk, he noticed a small drawer locked with a cheap brass keyhole. Michael crouched and tugged. It rattled, stubborn, unwilling to open. He almost walked away. Almost. But then he spotted something on the shelf. A tiny tin box, the kind that usually held mints or buttons. He picked it up, and when he shook it lightly, something jingled inside. He popped the lid. A key. Michael's pulse jumped. He slid the key into the drawer lock, and with a click, it opened. Inside were papers, old envelopes, and a small bundle of folded letters tied with string. The top one was yellowed, the ink faded. His eyes caught on the handwriting. It was soft, careful, almost trembling. And on the envelope, the name written clear as day. Emily. Michael's breath hitched. He glanced back at the hallway, listening. Emily was still asleep in the living room. David was gone, probably drinking, probably plotting. The house was still. Hands shaking, Michael slid the letter free and unfolded it. The words inside blurred for a moment as his heart pounded, but then they came into focus. My dearest Emily, if you are reading this, then I pray you are alive, safe, and loved. I am your mother. I wanted to raise you and your brother together, but life did not allow it. I was young, poor, and lost. They told me I could only keep one, and even then I could not. I gave you both away to different homes, praying that someday, somehow, you would find each other again. Your brother's name is Michael. He is out there, and he is a good boy. I believe that. I believe one day he will look for you. Please, if he finds you, let him in. Let him remind you that you were never alone. Forgive me, Emily. Forgive me for the life I could not give. Forgive me for the nights you may have cried thinking no one cared. You were always loved. Always. Don't forget that. With all my heart, Mom. The letter slipped from Michael's fingers onto the desk. His chest heaved, his vision swimming. He grabbed the desk edge to steady himself. Emily, his sister, his lost twin sister. She was here, in this house, under the fists of a man who had not only beaten her, but hidden this letter, this truth from her. Michael sank into the desk chair, gripping his hair with both hands. The ache in his chest felt like a fire, rage and sorrow all tangled together. David had known. David had stolen this. Not just her safety, not just her happiness, but her history, her roots, her right to know who she was. He looked down again, the bundle of letters tied with string, more of them, each one with Emily's name on it, all from their mother, all unopened, all hidden. Michael's hands shook as he picked them up, holding the bundle against his chest like something sacred. "Why, David?" he whispered to the empty room. "Why would you keep this from her?" The answer came to him before he wanted it to, because David was afraid. Afraid that if Emily knew she had a family, a brother, someone who loved her enough to search for her, she would F in the strength to leave him. Michael's jaw clenched, his eyes burned. He wanted to wake Emily right now, to tell her everything, to shake her and say, "You're not alone anymore. I'm here." But he didn't. Not yet. Because telling her like this, in the middle of the night without time to prepare, after the trauma of what had just happened, could break her even more. Instead, he slid the letter carefully into his jacket pocket. He would wait until morning. Wait until the right moment. As he closed the drawer, he whispered to himself, "He's not taking another thing from you. Not your voice. Not your freedom. Not your family." From the living room came a soft sound, Emily shifting in her sleep, murmuring something he couldn't make out. Michael stepped quietly into the hallway, the bundle of letters still pressed to his chest.